The champagne was cold. That was the only thing Margaret could say with certainty, as she stood near the back wall of her sister Diane's new restaurant, holding a glass she hadn't sipped from, watching the room fill with people who had no idea. The space was beautiful. She'd give Diane that. Exposed brick, warm pendant lighting, linen napkins folded into something architectural, a hostess in all black near the door, a jazz duo in the corner playing low enough not to interrupt conversation. Someone had put real thought into this. Someone had put real money into it. Margaret knew exactly whose. She'd found out 11 days ago. Not from Diane, from a credit monitoring alert on her phone that arrived while she was eating lunch alone at her desk, a notification that a new line of credit had been opened in her name 14 months earlier. Business loan, $42,000. She'd sat with her sandwich halfway to her mouth for a long time before she put it down. The research took 3 days. Careful, quiet days. She pulled her full credit report, cross-referenced the business registrations records online, found the LLC Diane had formed using Margaret's social security number and a forged signature on the co-applicant disclosure. The business was called Lena and June, which were their grandmother's 2 middle names, a sentimental choice. Diane had always known which details made people feel like they couldn't be angry. Margaret had not told their mother. She had not called Diane. She had not spoken to their cousin Renata, who was standing 20 feet away right now in a floral dress, laughing at something Diane's boyfriend said. She had, however, called the bank. Diane's speech began the way Diane always began things, with warmth manufactured so naturally it was nearly indistinguishable from the real kind. She thanked her business partner, a man named Curtis who had the handshake energy of someone who'd watched one too many motivational videos. She thanked their mother, who pressed a tissue to the corner of her eye from the front row. She thanked Renata. She thanked 3 friends by name. She thanked the contractors, the suppliers, the jazz duo. Margaret counted the seconds between each name. She was not mentioned. There was a version of herself, a few years younger, maybe, who would have told herself it was an oversight, who would have already begun constructing the excuse on Diane's behalf. She recognized the habit clearly now. The way you recognize a road you've driven so many times you stop noticing. It was always taking you somewhere you didn't choose to go. She didn't construct the excuse. She watched Diane lift her glass and smile at the room, and she thought, "You knew I was here. You saw me when I walked in. You smiled and said, 'We'll talk later.' And then you stood at that podium and thanked the jazz duo." The applause was warm, genuine even. None of these people knew anything. That wasn't their fault. Curtis was near the bar afterward, accepting congratulations with the ease of a man who felt he deserved them. Margaret waited until the small cluster around him thinned. She wasn't nervous. That surprised her somewhere underneath everything else. The absence of nerves. Just a kind of settled, forward-moving calm. She introduced herself with her full name. She watched his expression do the thing she'd expected it to do. A flicker, almost imperceptible, of someone who has heard a name in a context he wasn't prepared to encounter in person. She said 4 words, "I didn't sign that." And then she handed him a business card. Not hers. The card belonging to the fraud investigator at the bank, a methodical woman named Sheila, who had been, over the past 11 days, both thorough and kind. Curtis looked at the card for a moment. Then he looked at Margaret. Then he looked across the room at Diane, who was taking a photo with their mother near the hostess stand, laughing, her hand on their mother's arm. Margaret didn't wait for him to respond. There was nothing more to say that Sheila hadn't already set in motion. She found her coat. She set the full champagne glass on a tray near the door, carefully so it wouldn't tip. Outside, the street was cool and ordinary. A couple walking a dog, a delivery truck idling at the corner. The city doing what it always did, indifferent and continuous. She sat in her car for a while without starting it. She wasn't thinking about Diane exactly. She was thinking about something further back, the family logic that had always assigned her the role of the one who held things together without needing anything in return. The steady one, the one with the good credit, the stable job, the even temper. It had felt like a kind of dignity for a long time. She understood now that it had also made her useful in ways she hadn't consented to. That wasn't a revelation that felt good. It just felt true. She didn't know what would happen next in the specific and practical sense. The bank's process would take time. Diane would be contacted. There would be conversations Margaret wasn't looking forward to. A family reckoning that would likely be messy and inconclusive and full of people choosing sides based on what was easiest for them. She knew all of that was coming. She also knew she was done absorbing consequences that weren't hers to carry. She started the car. The restaurant's warm light glowed in her rearview mirror as she pulled away, smaller and then gone. She didn't watch it disappear. She was already looking at the road ahead, which was dark and ordinary and entirely hers to drive.